Hi, today I want to share a story with you that's also a metaphor for life and for probably where you're finding yourself right now. So earlier today, I went off to a community project that B and I often go to. We're working outside usually with plants and sometimes we're in a massive polytunnel doing all sorts of different jobs. Anyway, I left the house this morning in full rain gear. I had walking boots, long jeans, I had a long sleeve top, I had my big raincoat on because it was hammering down with rain. And although they said sometime this afternoon the weather would change, it was kind of hard to imagine at that moment. So I had all of my wet weather and cool, or it felt like autumn, gear on, went down, and as I was driving out into the countryside, I could see in the distance a light on the horizon, but it felt far enough away. It looked beautiful actually, but it was just not something, because I was literally had my fast wipers on the car. Anyway, got to where I was, still raining. We were working inside in the polytunnel, and then I looked up and saw that there was a break in the clouds. And I don't know if you've spent any time in a polytunnel, but once the sun comes out, it's baking. And this is exactly what happened. So I was sat there in my full gear. I'd taken my raincoat off, but still in autumn weight clothes. And the heat suddenly was incredible. So we were sat there and I was chatting about this, and I was saying that, sometimes it's really hard to imagine that the weather's going to be different. When we're experiencing it as it is, we kind of find it hard to imagine that it's going to be any different to what it is. And I don't know whether you've experienced this when you go on holiday somewhere. It might be that you're going to a different hemisphere to the one you live in, or for example, I have family in Chicago, and in the winter it's bitterly cold there, like bitterly cold. And yet it's hard to imagine feeling that cold. Or for example, when I've traveled where my son used to live, which is in Singapore, and I've been left in the winter here, and knowing that it's going to be really hot there, it's hard to know what to pack. It's hard to imagine that you won't need a big sweater. Okay. And yet my experience today was that I could have done with just a little vest top on rather than this long sleeve top. But I couldn't imagine that in the moment, in the morning. And it got me thinking about where you may be right now. And you may be caring for somebody with an eating disorder or have an eating disorder yourself. And it may be really hard to imagine things being any different. You kind of coming out of the situation you're in and being on the path to recovery or to be fully recovered. You may find it really difficult to imagine that right now. But I want to tell you that that is there, that is available to you. And sometimes we need to suspend our own internal chatter, that voice that's maybe telling us it's never going to be different, it's always going to be like this, I can't imagine being any different. But a bit like this, when you, either from my experience today or when we go on holiday, from being really hot to really cold or vice versa, it's hard to imagine, right? And yet we know that it's going to be different there. We know, and B and I talk about this such a lot, is that we know it's possible. We know recovery is possible. We know it's different on the other side. And I'd love you to allow yourself to just think about that and compare your experience of the weather and where you've experienced it as I've described, and see how that's also possible for you in your current situation. That actually it is possible, that change is possible. And I'd love you to maybe just spend some time thinking about that and noticing when that voice is kicking in that's going, yeah, but it's not like that now, or I can't ever imagine it. Just suspend that. Suspend your disbelief, if you like, and see what comes up for you. Imagine stepping into that completely different place, visualizing that completely different place, and see how you get on. I hope that's given you some kind of a pause for thought, how you might see this differently. I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.